So it looks like we are live.
Hey.
Yes. So
I'm
everybody,
excited.
I'm excited too. So for all of you that are tuned in, we are doing our special guest with Kayla Thomas. You guys may be familiar, but our special guest is where we talk to different experts every week about a particular topic that we think could be valuable to you guys. We've gotten a lot of questions in the past about marketing and branding yourself. And Kayla, not only as a radio DJ and an on-air personality, she also has a degree in media, something
What?
media related.
Digital media
Yes,
performance.
yes, and has a YouTube channel with, gosh, how many subscribers now?
50,000.
50,000 subscribers. So with
Yeah.
that being said, she is the queen of branding. And
Okay.
so I'm gonna gas you
So,
up today. I'm gonna gas you. So she's going to
seriously.
talk a little bit more about how to brand yourself in music. So before we get into that, Kayla, I want to, I guess, like learn a little bit more about your background. If you just want to start by telling us like your name and where you're from.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm not used to being on the other side of the interview.
I
I'm
know.
usually on doing the interview, so I was like super nervous. I was like, oh my God, this is different. But yeah, so my name is Kayla Thomas. I am a radio personality, like you just said. I'm a DJ. I do a night show on a nationally syndicated radio
Mm-hmm.
show. It's called Pop Crush Nights. I am in CHR, which is pop music. Um, you know, different radio stations have different genres of music, hip hop and R&B. You got country, you got rock. I do CHR, so we play the Justin Bieber, we play the Camila Cabello. But yeah, so I have the nationally syndicated show that I started doing about a year and a half ago, which is such a blessing and such a huge opportunity that I don't take lightly. Like I said, 48 states, 48 cities across the country. And yeah, so that's basically what I do.
Cool. So like with your role of being like a radio DJ, do you curate music? Do you just kind of play music and listen to it and you're kind of the face on the front end, or what is your role kind of, I guess, at a really high level?
Yeah, as a radio personality, just strictly, I don't have much say in what music gets played on the radio. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if I was the program director, if I was the music director, they are the ones that schedule the music. They're the ones that put listen to different tracks that record labels send over to us and say, okay, yes, we're going to play your song. Yes, we're going to play this new Katy Perry song. It's going to be scheduled at this specific time for this specific reason.
Mm-hmm.
But I, as a personality, don't have much say on that. So my
Sure.
job is basically just to, get the entertainment news out there, tell you guys what's going on, be a friend, be a voice basically on your drive home or your, wherever, and just to entertain you. And
Mm-hmm.
basically I just push a button, push the buttons, and it just runs on its own,
Cool.
basically.
I'm sure it's not that simple, but yeah, that's really cool. So just a shout out to everybody in here. I see a bunch of you are tuned in, especially a lot of people we see frequently. So hey, Bufo. Hey, TikTok '03, Retro One XC, Extra Life, Sean Pro, Ascension Beats, the ZX Zone, Track the Rippa. We're super excited to have you guys in. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about branding yourself in music and I guess just how to brand yourself when you're behind the scenes. Because like you heard Kayla say, she works in radio, so she's not on the front facing, even though her voice is. So in order to build your brand, it may take a little bit more strategy. So we're going to talk about that. But first, getting back into talking about you, Kayla, I'm curious what got you into radio, because we are in this kind of like modern music era where people a lot of times may listen to Bluetooth music or an aux cord if their vehicle was made, 5+ years ago. So what sparked your interest in radio, being that in some people's eyes, even though the perception is not correct, radio appears to be kind of on the decline?
You know what? I love when people ask me this because a lot of people will say to me, well, I don't listen to the radio. I got my
Mm-hmm.
phone. I'm listening to Spotify. And even though a lot of people are saying, yes, I'm listening to my phone, you'll be surprised that radio is actually going up. Our listenership is actually
Mm,
going up. And what differentiates us from Spotify, Apple Music is our voice, and we're a friend to you.
yeah.
Okay. So you can put we're in the car with you on your drive home. And that's what I really, really love about radio, is that I get to be somebody's friend and I get to be a part of somebody's every single day routine.
Yeah.
But you asked me how I got into this, right?
Yeah. Or what made you get into it?
Well, girl, I was not trying to this was not the plan.
Mm-hmm.
I went to college. I knew I wanted to be in communications, and I knew I could speak really well. I've been doing YouTube since I was like 17 years old. And so I thought TV was my thing. So I went to school. I went to Liberty University. I went and I studied, and I was, prepping myself. I was like, okay, I'm going to be on I'm going to be on TV. I'm going to do the news. I'm going to, that's what my goal is. Maybe I'll be on E! News, or I'll be on CNN, something like that. But as I started taking the classes, I wasn't really liking it. I didn't like it. I didn't like how scripted television was. And I didn't like doing the hard news. And I wanted something that showed more of my personality and that I can connect with people more. And so when it came time to trying to find an internship, I was looking at all these TV stations, and everybody was denying me. Like, nobody was accepting you, girl, like nobody. And so finally I was desperate. I said, let me just try a radio station. So I tried a local radio station around where my school was. They accepted me, and basically the rest is history. I really found that I love the personal connection that radio personalities have with our listeners. It's a totally different ballgame. I get to show more of my personality. I get to talk about whatever I want, and I get to make somebody's day in a way that TV really can't connect. So, I started as an intern, obviously worked my way up, and then got into radio.
Cool. So with that being said, who are some of the really cool artists that you've gotten to interview?
Oh my gosh. So when I first got this nationally syndicated show, that is when everything just started getting thrown at me. I had already been in radio for a year and some change. And my very first time that I ever interviewed anybody was at the Grammys. Talk about being thrown in, okay? And I didn't let anybody know that was my first time. I was like, okay, Kayla, you've never done this before, but you're going to go in there and you're going to act like you know what you're doing, because I'm amongst the greats right now. Zach Sang Show, Elvis Duran, Bobby Bones, the biggest names in radio were also in that room. And then you have little old me who's just now starting this. I said, okay, I need to make myself on the same level as them. Even though you're scared out of your mind, do it. So I went, but long story short, I went to the Grammys, and there we participate in what's called Radio Row. So you literally interview a bunch of, celebrities in a row. Off the top of my head, Khalid, Halsey, BTS, Brendan Urie. I just did Katy Perry today on Zoom. Who else? Justin Bieber. I did Justin Bieber, Madison Beer, Fletcher, so many. So it's a really cool opportunity.
Cool. And then the one last thing I want to ask you is, like, what do you love most about working in the industry? I know you have a really unique subset, but you are exposed to new music on a daily basis. So what is it? Is it just meeting other artists? Is it getting to listen to music all day? What do you love about working in the music industry the most?
Well, I love music, and I love being able to listen to new music. Sometimes artists will preview their own music to me before it's released to anybody else, and that just that's just so special to me. But my favorite part is a lot of cool things come with it, like being able to go to these award shows. But my favorite thing is seeing these artists behind the scenes and getting to know them for who they really are. Because you have this idea of what they are like based off of social media, but you realize that they're just like us, so meeting artists and also like talking to listen. My favorite part is being on the radio. That's why I like to just sit and talk my smack every single night from 7 to midnight. I love it.
That's a really a long shift. Well, cool. So with that being said, I want to ask you a couple questions about branding yourself, like maybe just from your own experience and the way that you approached it, and then as well as how some of our viewers can approach it. So I want to ask you, because you said you have been doing YouTube since practically you were in high school. How how did you start building your brand? How did you come to the idea that you wanted to build a personal brand? And I guess just like what got you motivated so early on?
Well, so my YouTube channel was about doing hair, even though I didn't know how to do it. I just wanted to be on YouTube. I just thought the idea of YouTube was so cool. And so basically I did hair tutorials and makeup looks and didn't know what the heck I was doing. But I really started my brand on YouTube. I got my camera. I started on a little webcam that was so pixelated. Got my webcam and I just started talking. And I was just being myself. I wasn't trying to be anybody else. And, something that's like really important that like my mom actually said to me is she said, positive impression plus standing out equals your brand. So, I always said, okay, I said to myself, okay, who do I want to be? And I said, okay, I want to be somebody who's a positive influence. I want to be a good role model. I want to be somebody that somebody they can laugh with and relate to. So with that, I just kind of stuck with that. And got on my YouTube channel. I was consistent with it every single day, every single week, making videos that were true to who I was. And it just picked up and I started getting more and more subscribers. And when I started getting into radio, it's funny, my company said that the reason why they hired me was because of my YouTube channel and how they could see who I was just in my raw, natural state in my house and how genuine I was. And that is what got me the job of this nationally syndicated show. So, does that answer your question?
I think so. Yeah. No, I guess it's just like the interest of being kind of like an influencer, but not in the way that people use the word now, but just using your talent and ability, talent and ability to influence people and create positive content.
I think when people have the idea of I want to be an influencer, you're already starting wrong. Like that wasn't really my intention. I wanted to do something that I loved. I loved sitting in front of the camera. I loved doing makeup, even though I was trash at it. But like I just loved it, and people gravitated towards that. When you do something that's not true to who you are, it'll go left really quick.
Yeah. So with that being said, you said you started makeup. Now you're in radio. I mean, how has your branding changed and your approach to branding changed as you've changed as a person, or has it, or have you felt the need to like focus on what your viewers want to hear or what they want to see? Has that changed? And I guess if so, in what ways?
Honestly, obviously I've grown up and I become more mature. Since I'm 17, I'm 26 now. But I don't think so. I still have that same drive as when I was 17 years old. I still do it because I love it. I still have that same mindset of like, what can I do to bring a smile to other people's face and doing something that I enjoy. So as I got older, obviously, like, the mechanics of it, of how to properly brand myself, getting on, making sure I'm on social media, posting a certain amount of content all the time so I can stay, in your face, that kind of stuff. But me as myself, I don't think I've changed since I was 17 years old. But there is a strategy of like how you should go about getting your content out to people. Definitely.
Cool. Well, we're definitely going to talk about that a little bit more in depth. So what do you feel like are the fundamental components for building a successful brand? Because you've obviously been able to do so on like a more personal level with YouTube, but then also do it now professionally. So like, what do you feel like are the key elements that make a successful brand or a successful brand in music?
So, whatever field you're going to go into, whether it's you want to be an artist or you want to be a producer or you want to be a DJ, know your target audience, first of all, okay? Know who your content is going to so you can stick with them. Also, I would say decide who you want to be. A lot of people change. They let the fame and they let the money change them. Decide who you want to be, stick to that so people will gravitate towards your personality. And that's basically it. I really just, know who your target audience is, decide who you want to be, and stick to it and stay consistent with it.
Definitely. That's really great advice, because some people, I feel like there's maybe two ways to go about it. And some people are like trying to figure out who their audience is, and naturally it gravitates. But sometimes there is benefit to researching beforehand and figuring out, like, especially with like producers, you guys know who your audience is. A lot of times it's either going to be other producers or it's going to be artists. So when you have a really solid audience that you know you want to focus on, taking the time to do that research, like Kayla said, and just making sure that you're creating content that is valuable to those people. So with that being said, I also want to ask you, like, how does one go about telling their story? Because there is this mix of, I want you guys to understand who I am as a content creator, and I also want to create content that's valuable to you. So how do you mix, I guess, like telling your story with creating good content? Do you go into depth about like who you are? Like, how do you personally relate and show yourself to people who are watching?
I think it's really different depending on what you're going into. I can only speak for myself and what I did for me. I was so authentic and like transparent with my life. Everything about me you can find on my YouTube channel. You literally. And I think that's why people could relate to me, and people want somebody that they can relate to. And when they find that person that they like, they'll stick with you for years. Okay, so I am 26 now. I still have people who watched my video when I was 18, and they'll still come up to me in the mall and say, my old channel name was Miss Dreamer 101. You're Miss Dreamer 101. I remember when you did this and this. So where was I going with this? But basically, yeah. So does that answer your question?
Yeah. You know what's funny, you guys? I know Kayla obviously on a personal level because we went to college together. And it is funny because when you came to Arizona a year and a half ago, remember when we went down to Tucson and that girl, we went to that pool party and it was like, are you on YouTube? Are you Kayla Thomas?
Yeah. So basically, I mean, it's just like creating content that is like become transparent, open yourself up. Like I literally told my story. People want a story that they can gravitate to. And then, just as much as you feel like you should, put it out there for people to see. And
definitely. So what is some of that like more personal content that you put out in the past that you feel like has really resonated, that surprised you? Or maybe not even personal, like, is it a matter of like stepping outside the box? Because you said you started doing one thing, but now you're in music. So how has the content you've created, like, has there been, I guess, a particular topic that it's like, wow, I didn't even expect for people to resonate with that the way that they did?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be honest, now that I'm a radio personality, I don't have that much time for YouTube, so I don't really keep up with it as much. And now that I'm, interviewing all these different artists, and my image has completely changed from being, okay, I'm a YouTube guru to I am a radio personality. It's kind of like transition. So now, on my YouTube channel, I'm gonna start putting all my interviews that I do. So obviously that's gonna target to a different type of audience. But anyway, so some of the stories that people really resonated with was telling about, my hardships. And people, when I was younger, I mean, I was bullied. I didn't have many friends growing up in high school. Stories like that, relationships. I was always so open up with my relationships and would tell people, and when I got cheated on or something like that. And I would also vlog. People love vlogs, and I would literally walk around with a camera around campus, you remember, and film my everyday routine. So that, and people just love to see that. Yeah. And it took off. And I think when I started doing that, that's when I got my most followers. But yeah, it's obviously definitely has changed since I'm in a completely different field. Yeah. But I do still have those same viewers back then now, because they just like me for me.
Yeah, that's
doesn't matter
great.
the content.
So how do you increase your brand recognition, or how did you go about increasing your brand recognition?
Like how did I get so many in YouTube followers and stuff like that? In addition to creating content that I wanted to create and I knew that I would be good at, sorry, let me hang this up. In addition to creating content that I knew I wanted to do, that I would be good at, I also looked in wanted to see what other people would be good at as well, or wanted to see as well. So I would constantly stay up to date on what's trending. I would constantly be, okay, so what is the latest, challenge, and how can I put my spin on it, basically? What is some hairstyles that people like, but make it my own, stuff like that. And so I would put my own KT spin on stuff that was already popping, and people gravitated towards that. I would also promote the hell out of my stuff. Like, follow me, always putting on social media, always putting it on Twitter, and also collaborating with other people as well, and linking up and, with them, and getting to know their followers, and their followers eventually follow me.
Yeah, that is a benefit to collaboration, is not only tapping into the expertise of somebody else, but also being able to tap into their fan base and hope that they kind of will join yours.
Right.
Cool. So with that being said, like, because there is this, I guess, in some ways it's competition, in some ways it's people who do the same thing that you do, and it's great for collaboration. So like, do you study what other people are doing? Like, has your approach been like, these people are my competition, so I don't want to interact with them? Or has there been a balance between the two?
So when I first got started, I was obsessed with trying to sound like my favorite radio personality. And I thought to myself, the only way that I'm going to be successful in this field is if I sound like her, because she's already successful. And so I would always listen to her. I would be on the radio myself, listening to her show on my phone, and try to crack my breaks in the way I sounded to sound like her, because that's what I thought, people wanted to hear. But I eventually realized that, everybody has to have their own voice, and people are going to like you for you, not because you're trying to sound like somebody else, because people can tell when you're not being true to yourself, and when you're being fake and you're trying to be something that you're not. And I quickly found that very, very fast. So studying the competition, no, but learning from them, yes, as for sure. Like the greats, Elvis Duran, Ryan Seacrest, Nick Cannon, they're the best to do it. And I, definitely learn from them and their experiences and stuff, but at the same time, still being who I am. Especially when it comes to interviewing, I had such a hard time with that. I said, okay, I want to be an interviewer. When I interview these artists, I want to make an impression. I want to be good. I want to be as good as this person, this person, this person. So I would watch other people's interviews and try to mimic the way they did stuff. And quickly that just fell flat, because one, I didn't feel right about it. I didn't feel like I was being myself. And two, like, it just was stale and fake. And so eventually, I said, Kayla, like, you gotta find your own lane. You gotta find what works for you. And eventually I found that. I got into that rhythm, and it comes with time and experience. But and I finally realized that, like, me, myself, and the way I do things is good enough, because I'm here. I got here, so I have to be good. So I just have to trust myself and believe in myself. And then from there, now I don't have no problem.
Yeah, I feel like it's the same way in music. Like a lot of times people will start out making beats or making songs, and they sound just like this artist, or they make a beat and they want to make it sound just like this producer and use the same drums that this producer does. And it's like, it is good to learn from people. You don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel every time. You can learn from people who are doing well, but at the same time, like, you don't want to do it so much and be mimicking other people so much that nothing you create is authentic to you. And I feel like, especially you as a music listener, can hear in music that you listen to when it's authentic and when that passion is behind it, versus when a particular song and or beat, for those of you that are producers, are just put out because that's what's trending right now.
Right. Absolutely.
So I want to ask, like, what's been your approach to social media? Again, you guys, she's in radio, but there is a lot of similarities in the fact that you are behind the scenes, but also like need to build this personal brand that's on the forefront. So with now you being in music, how have you approached building your social media and helping people see the face that's behind, I guess, the radio, and in some ways behind the music that people are listening to or talking about?
So I always say to people, I love radio so much because nobody can see me. Yes, I was on YouTube all the time. So I was always in front of the camera, but I prefer to be behind the scenes. I prefer to be behind the microphone and nobody see me and you only hear my voice. One, because you can't judge me based on how I look. And two, you know, I can tell that my voice has power. Anyway, so yeah, it's hard because, you know, how do I build a social media brand when I'm behind the scenes, you know? And basically, you know, when I'm on air every single night from 7 to midnight, you know, I'll say what my social media is and I'll get on there. I'll post consistently. I'll constantly show people what I'm doing, you know, in the studio. I'll constantly be posting TikToks. I'm always staying relevant on what's trending. So right now it's TikTok. So I'm always on TikTok. I'm trying to be on Instagram live all the time. And I want people to, you know, be able to put a face to a name, to a voice. So when they're in their car and they're listening to me and I'm talking to them and it's just me and them in the car, they say, okay, here she's a real person. She's just like me. So yeah, so I try to stay consistent on social media. I try to post a lot. I try to, you know, ask questions to my listeners and, you know, do question and answers and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I'm just, yeah.
Consistent.
Consistent.
So how do you mix, you know, because people do know you for music, but you also are a person and you want people to get to know you as well. So that, like you said, when they hear your voice, or for our producers, when they hear your music, they can know who it is and feel like they know the person that they're listening to. Do you try and balance like the music type content that you put out and the personal brand content you put out? And if so, how do you do that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm always so open. Like I said, I'm always so open with everything that's going on in my life. Sometimes I feel like I overshare. But I'm always, you know, I have no problem, you know, letting people know what's going on in my life. So I have no problem posting about it. And so I feel like I have a perfect mix of, you know, showing, you know, what's going on. Oh, I had an interview with this person and this person. But at the same time, you know, yes, I get to go to these cool places and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, here I am. I'm still in quarantine. I wear sweatpants. You know, I just try to, you know, have a mix. I want people to not think of me as, I don't even like the word celebrity. You know what I mean? Like I'm as normal as everybody else. And I try to, you know, mix it, just let people know that.
Yeah. So the other question that I have is, what piece of advice would you give to artists or producers who are trying to build their brand? Because you get to work with a lot of people who are at the top, but how, or I guess from your experience, or what really resonates with you as far as, I guess, like building that brand and the type of people that you're interested in?
When it comes to like artists and stuff?
And producers too.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to artists, I so appreciate the ones who aren't in it for the recognition and the fame. I can spot out from a mile away, especially because I interview a lot of up and coming artists. So I see them in their baby stages, and you can tell their intentions from the beginning just by talking to them. And so I so appreciate the ones who are just so about their music, and they are so about, like, their music is their baby, and they don't care if 2 people listen to it or 2,000 people listen to it. They're proud of their work. And a lot of people, like you said before, you know, create content just so it can pop. And, you know, I think that doesn't work. It never works. It never is successful. The things that are successful is the things that people can relate to. So if it's true to you, I can tell as a DJ and as a person who's interviewing you. So I just say, like, you know, when building your brand and stuff like that, like I said, decide who you want to be from the beginning. Do you want to be somebody who's in it for the jewelry and the cars, or do you want to do it because you love it? Like, decide that and stick to it. And we'll be able to see just by talking to you.
Do you feel like you can see that in the music too? Like, you do a lot of interviewing and you get to understand people on a, I guess, person by person basis, but does that translate as well in the music that you listen to?
Absolutely. I'm a pop DJ, so I don't know. I haven't interviewed. I've interviewed Kiana Lede, but I haven't done many hip hop and R&B artists. But there's an artist named Fletcher, and her song "Undrunk." I got to interview her, and that song just really resonated with me because you could tell that it came from a place of such pain. And so, I really listen to the lyrics when I'm, listening to a song, and I can tell if the song is, from your heart and based on the way you sing it and you perform it, or if it's, just something that you threw together because you thought it would pop. We can tell.
Yeah. And I feel like for producers, it's important to put that quality into the work you're putting out. There are songs and artists who just pop off because the internet and the clout, and they're getting all these.
It works for some people.
It does. It does. So it works for some people, but at the same time, like, I guess, like Kayla said, you have to think about what really you want your brand to be and what you want to be known by. If you're just in it for the cars and the clothes and whatever else you can buy, like, sure, put out, whatever song you want, like, put out a Bust Down Tatiana record and
listen,
and then it pops off. Not gonna say I didn't listen to that
like,
song.
I'm tired of the songs.
Yeah, like, put out
give me something that I can feel, that lasts longer.
Yeah, it does. It really last longer.
And you won't be like a one-hit wonder.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is longevity. And again, like, Kayla's talking a lot about artists and the music they make, but it all starts with the beat that you put out.
Yeah.
And artists can't write. I mean, of course, artists can really write to anything, but I'm sure you've heard like instrumental music or beats or like songs without the lyrics in them. And it's like, sometimes a beat, it inspires people too, to put out like their best foot forward when they're making music. And
I've talked to artists when I always ask them, how did this song come about? What was your creative process? And sometimes, some artists will already have their, lyrics written down in their journal that they wrote in their bedroom. But sometimes they'll get into the studio, they'll hear the beat and they'll feel it. And then the words will come. And that's how I'm not an artist. I don't write, so I don't really know what that's like. But I've also heard them describe the beat in colors. Like, sometimes artists hear it in colors. I'm probably not saying that right. Some people are gonna be like, but they do. And then the rest just comes from it.
Yeah.
The words just come after they hear that beat. Sorry, an example. Max, he sings a bunch of different songs. I can't think right now, but his statement color is yellow. And he said, after he heard his beat, he saw yellow, and then that's how his song came to be. A happy-go-lucky song. It all started with the beat. It was yellow.
Interesting. So I guess the mood that kind of they get from that, they see a color, and then that's how he wrote the song.
Yeah. Oh, the song's called Love Me Less. Sorry.
Love Me Less.
Max,
cool.
Max, Love Me Less.
Wow. Yeah. So again, like, from the point of conception of music, which is that beat, and what you guys do as producers, to those of you that are artists that are writing the lyrics, like, it translates to us as music listeners, to Kayla as a radio DJ, and to her talking to you guys as people and also playing your music. Like, we can tell, like, in some ways, what your goal is. And so just keep in mind, again, there's nothing wrong with just being like, I want a one-hit wonder, because people be making big money from that. And it's like, my goal was just to be able to pay off my student loans, buy a house, and buy a new car. Go for it. That's great. But if your goal is longevity and making music that matters, just make sure that you're true to yourself, you're thoughtful in the music that you put out, and you just approach it more than just, I guess, a form of imitation.
Yes.
So with that being said, Kayla, is that what makes a song stand out to you? Is just like because I guess for me, it's a little bit of both. Like sometimes I like the lyrics. I'll say a good 80% of time I like the beat. But then sometimes there is that music that resonates with me because I like the message behind it. So for you personally, what makes a song stand out to you?
For me personally, and like I said, it's different for everybody, but I like lyrics that I can connect to. Whether it's a fast song, whether it's a slow song, lyrics that make me feel. That is what makes like a song. I'm like, okay, I want to play that song. I want to promote that song. If I can feel it, like I can tell, like we were just saying, like I can tell if you just wanted to go somewhere, like if you just want to, which is fine. Like we can bust down to it in the club. Like that's fine too. Like I want to twerk to it too. But for me personally, I like songs that I can listen to at home. And it make me, I want to feel what you were feeling when you wrote it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is important for music. But again, like the other thing is music is so subjective. Mm-hmm. And some people just want to hear certain things. Some people, like one thing that's big for me is like the sound of somebody's voice, the tone of voice. Like there's certain artists I can't listen to because it sounds like their tongue is too fat in their mouth. And there's some people who like I really like because like their ear is really pleasing. But yeah, I guess that's why it's best to just do you. Because like everybody's going to have a different opinion on what this sounds like, what should sound good, how these drums should hit, what the melody should be like. It's like, man, just make content that you like and stick with that. And that should be what will excel you forward. Mm-hmm. So do you have any good tips and tricks when it comes to creating good content in music? So you, of course, post, like you said, a mix of personal and stuff that's related to your music career, or I guess the career that you have within music. What are your good tips and tricks for getting content, I guess, that sticks and that people engage with? I heard you say like questions and answers and stories and Instagram
Honestly,
stories.
You know what I love? I love what DaBaby does. Mm-hmm. Whoever does his social media is brilliant. He tells a story. Sometimes, he'll just be doing trillers by himself to his own music. And I just think it's just brilliant. So first of all, you got to believe in your own music for us to believe in it. And you can tell DaBaby, I know he's like a huge star, but this goes for anybody. Like we can see if you believe in your own music. And if you got to make me want to believe in your music too. So when you're selling it, you better sell the hell out of it. Okay. You got to if you believe in a song, you better make me believe that this is the best song and it's going #1 on the charts. Because if I see that, I say, okay, it'll make me think, okay, let me listen to this song. Let me see what this guy is about. And so, DaBaby, always make trillers to your own music. Dance around in your living room to your own music. Make sure everybody has the link to your thing. Don't do the most though. I don't like when people always say, listen to my SoundCloud. Like do it in a way that's like professional, please. Like,
yeah.
But yeah.
You don't want to come off as spammy.
Yeah. But like, I personally don't like when people are always in my inbox, like, listen to my mixtape. Put it on your social media, put it on your Instagram, say, hey, check out my Instagram. And if I see your Instagram is like popping in a way where you are creating content that makes me like, whoa, then I'll click, then I'll listen, then I'll go for more, then I'll look for more. And then I'll say, hey, listen, you want to come in the studio and sit down with me? That's how it works for me.
Yeah. So is it just a matter of like them putting their music on social? Like how can you engage also with like fans and make people want to be fans? Because I feel like in some ways, just putting your music is going to look like I'm just listening to somebody's Instagram version of Spotify. So how can you create other content where you can engage with people and really market yourself as a musician?
You kind of have to make people fall in love with you, basically. So like I said, you have to, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. You got to make people fall in love with you and make yourself relatable. So yes, post your songs and stuff like that, but also tell your story. What are you doing from your day-to-day routine? Humanize yourself. You're not just an artist, you're a person. And people, I think, connect more so with the person than the artist. I like DaBaby because of his personality. And I can see his personality through his content. Yeah, his music is dope, but his personality, Tekashi 69 is not a good example, but his personality is addicting. You see all the stuff that he's posting on social media, like, don't do it in the way that he's, you know what I'm trying to say, but he, you know, makes people want to look at what he's doing. Make me want to look at what you're doing. And yeah.
Be engaging.
Yeah.
So what are some, like, I guess, like literal social media tricks? Like, what do you do with like your Instagram stories, or ways that you add a caption that you know people will engage with, or do you post at certain dates and times, or bring stuff back in people's feed a couple days after you've interviewed somebody? Like, what are some, like, I guess, just real tricks and tips that you can share to get people's content on the forefront of other people's minds?
Well, only speaking for myself, what I do and what I did for YouTube that helped is, like, honestly, like, the hashtags help a lot. When you're YouTube and Instagram putting hashtags that you know people are searching, and then it'll come up. I usually post, you're not supposed to post on Mondays. That's a bad day. That's the trick that I learned a long time ago, and it's true. Don't post on Mondays. But obviously you would post at a time that you know a lot of people are scrolling, which is like more so at nighttime when people are laying in their bed and just scrolling through social media. Obviously we're in quarantine now, so basically anytime kind of towards the later of the day goes. But yeah, and I would say it's all in the hashtags. It's all in, and people will share your stuff. Obviously, don't put your stuff on private and stuff, like, but people will share stuff if they like it. Ask your friends to share it. I know a lot of my stuff, like in the beginning, my friends helped me, you know, spread my stuff. My friends would promote me and my YouTube channel on their stuff, and then somebody would see it from their stuff and then go to me. And your friends, that their help can go a long way. So, you know, constantly get people close to you who can help you out and spread the word about your content. Yeah. And I would say those are like the three main things. And obviously staying consistent, because the algorithms thing is weird, especially on Instagram. So you want to stay, you know, up on top of people's feeds. So create content that they will like, so you will keep appearing on their social media, or keep appearing at the top. It's weird how it works, but yeah. And also engage, and also, like, if you engage with other people, they'll engage with you back. So I found, for me, if I respond to my listeners who comment on my post, they'll like my post more, because I'm more than just a picture on Instagram now. Okay, so constantly comment on other people's social media. Hey, I like that. Thank you. Like, that's great. And they'll go on your page, like, constantly, like, answering comments all day. Yeah. Basically, yeah. Always answer your comments, because those are people who are trying to interact with you. You got to interact back.
Yeah, you do. And I feel like if people are going to take the time, because I'm not going to lie, most of the time I go on social, I scroll and I double tap in my head and I'm like, wow, she looks fine today. Wow, that's a nice shirt he's wearing. But like when people take the time to like it and engage with it, it's like you also got to share that appreciation. Like, maybe not people who are just doing social media for the social side of things. It don't really matter. Likes don't matter. But when you're trying to build a brand and utilize a tool like social media, you do got to be intentional about responding to people, liking their comments, and commenting, like you said, on other people's stuff, and sharing and showing support the way you want it to be received too. Like, people will replicate. I can tell this, like, I know people who have super fire social media posts that get little to no likes, as opposed to people that I know on a personal level, and they'll get several hundred or close to 1,000. It's like, it's mostly because they like that person as an individual. And so there is that importance of, like, making sure people can understand who you are, and people feel like they can connect with you. And it's an easy way to turn people off from following you and wanting to engage with your brand when you don't respond.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's a way to get people to engage with you outside of, like, engaging with them? Like, is there certain ways that you, like I said before, do you phrase the caption in a way that makes people want to respond? Or do you put stuff in your stories that you know people are going to respond to? Like, what are your content tricks to get
Definitely,
people?
I know, and especially for radio personalities, I know we do a lot, and I actually need to get better with this, but they'll do a lot of questions so the listeners can answer. It's Taco Tuesday. What are you guys eating today? and then all these comments, rather than just saying Taco Tuesday, no one's going to comment. Ask a question, invite them in. Is basically, do a lot of polls or stuff on your Instagram story. Just get people in, ask them questions, bring them in, and they'll start engaging with you consistently. And then when you build that, friendship or that relationship, they'll keep commenting, they'll keep liking, and they'll keep supporting.
Yeah, I think it's cool too, like in the sense of making music. I've seen people like working on a beat, and whether they're going live or they're just kind of recording, it's like, what drums do you hear on this? Like, do you like these drums more or this drum pattern more? Or what artist do you hear on this? Like, there's easy ways to get people to engage. And a lot of times you will get pretty good engagement, especially on stories, because it's anonymous. You know what I mean? Like, you can see who commented, but numbers wise, it's just a poll. So people don't think so much about like, what am I going to say? Should I be showing up on their timeline? Because it's not very front facing. So there's little things that you can do to increase your engagement. And even on a personal level, like you said, like, what are you having for dinner today? I'm having tacos. Instead of just posting a picture of your food that looks really good, like, ask what other people, and it's cool because like you are getting to know people. Like, it's not just about social media strategy and how can I say something where I know people are going to respond. It's also like, yeah, I do want to like get to know people on a real casual basis. Like, what are you eating today? I'm having Chipotle. Like,
right. And you make friends. I've made so many social media friends that I haven't met in person, and it's cool. It's nice.
Yeah, it is a good way to connect with people too. And it's another way to create collaboration. Like, this is what social media is ideally about, and its best form is networking. And you never know. Like, I saw on Twitter last week, this guy posted a screenshot that somebody had DM'd him a year and a half or 2 years ago saying, hey, is that beat that you have still for sale? And it was Lil Nas X. And he had never responded. And he's like, if I would have responded to that DM, like, you also, not only from the customer engagement, like, you really don't know how any of these people that you're going to interact with will pop off at some point, whether it be on a personal level and social media, whether it be on a professional level as an artist or producer. And like, this is such an easy way to establish those relationships. Just a simple comment back or a simple response to the DM can go a long way in ways that you can't even imagine. Yeah. So with that being said, the last question that I have for you, and I'll start asking you some of the questions. I posted it in the comments, you guys, but if you have questions for Kayla about her or what she does in radio, or questions about branding, drop them in the comments. And after I ask this last question, I'll definitely be getting to those. But what do you feel like, I guess, just to kind of wrap it up, is like the most important element in creating content that sticks? Is it, because you said there is an algorithm, so you got to do stuff that people will interact with, but you also want to put out content that is true to yourself. So what do you feel like is the most important element?
I mean, I honestly, I can't say anything more than what I've been saying basically this whole time. People, if you don't believe in your music, how can you expect anybody else to? Or whatever content that you're putting out. That's what worked for me, is just saying, I don't care what anybody else thinks. I love what I'm doing, and people love that I love what I was doing. So when creating content and putting it out there, if it's true to you and if it's different, also like don't be different. Add your little flair. Like I said, like I, did popular things, but I put the KT spin on it, and I made it my own. And that's how I kind of created my brand of like, just tweaking things like that. So, decide who you're going to be. That's like, if you don't get anything else of what I said, because I know I talked way too much, decide who you want to be and stick to that. I really hope that you do, because, people can tell when you steer off. So,
yeah. Well, thank you, first of all, for sharing your knowledge. I do want to ask you a couple of questions that people have been asking. So the first one is from Cloud9 Music. So, hey, Cloud9, one of my favorite people that are part of the BeatStars community. He said, do you think having social media numbers matters when it comes to gaining opportunities or networking?
I think a lot of people are, buying Instagram followers nowadays because they think that the numbers matter. But honestly, I have gotten people into my studio who don't even have, okay, so typically for an artist, you should have like, not should, but like, you know, the ones that are popping, I guess you have more than, what, 1 million, I guess. I've interviewed people who have like 20,000 and their music is amazing. You know, they didn't buy their followers or anything. They're slowly, like, building your brand takes a while. It's a slow process. And buying your followers, you're not going to get real engagement. So what's the point? You know what I mean? So do it authentically from the beginning. But yeah, I've interviewed and had people sit in my studio who are better than people who have 1 million followers. So I don't think it really matters. If your music works and it sticks, it'll take you where you need to go.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. TikTok03 said, I know you mentioned TikTok already, but I find it hard to get people from TikTok to my other socials. Do you think it's worth the energy to create content on TikTok or Triller?
Stick to TikTok. That is what's popping right now. If you get somebody do a little dance to your song and it pops, it takes off, like, that's what you want. It's crazy how TikTok is influencing the charts nowadays. That app that we all were like laughing at literally a year ago is what's you would be surprised how much it is shaping the music industry. I say stick to TikTok. Triller, I don't want to say anything bad about Triller. I like Triller. Make a Triller, post it on your Instagram, post it on other social medias. You can take that content from TikTok and put it on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah. Great Brilliance asked, what's the importance of a website and email list for an artist? And I do want to talk a little bit about that because we do talk about utilizing social media, but do you feel like there still is, where is, I guess, the value in having that website and other traditional marketing and branding things in place when you're growing your business or your brand?
Well, you need a landing page. Like, you need something that I want a one-stop shop. I don't want to be going all different type. I don't have time for that. Like, we really don't have time for that. Give it to me all in one place. So you have your website, you have, pictures of you, you have, your music all in one place. Like, for a DJ, for example, I'm working on mine, but you go to my website and literally, okay, it's a link to my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook, all of my interviews in one place, all of my, big things that are segments that I do on the radio, all in one place. I think it's very important to have a one-stop shop so people aren't searching around.
It is. And for those of you, like a lot of you are our premium members, but for those of you that aren't, we do have that pro page tool that allows you to put your tracks there, put your sound kits, group your songs as albums and create playlists and sell merchandise. It's like, take advantage of the fact that, especially with BeatStars, we have all these tools and integrations, and really, like, we have that custom website builder that's meant for people like you. So instead of trying to figure out, how do I include this element and what's this, is this important? It's like, take full advantage of everything that you guys can utilize and make sure, like Kayla said, you do have that landing page / website where people can go. Because if they go on their social and say, okay, his music is fire, like, what do they do after that? You know what I mean? They got to have a place where they can go to learn more about you, and learn more about your music and see things more in depth without having to scroll all the way down on social. It is helpful in some ways because it's like, you can meet people where they are, which is within social media. But at the same time, having that, I guess it adds to your level of professionalism too. Like, I'm not just an Instagram star, a TikTok star,
Right.
a YouTube star. Like, I'm a real business. I'm a real musician, and I am taking my craft seriously. So, Kayla, with that being said, thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
No, it was fun. I'm really glad I got to talk to you because, like I said, you guys, Kayla may be in radio, but she still had to build a brand. And I think there's tips and tricks that she shared that you guys can take and apply and twist to what it is that you guys do. So I hope that you guys found a lot of value. I want to appreciate all of you who tuned in. Broke Knack 616, Cloud9, King Tariq, Spectreams Music, the Z, X Own, Bufo, Retro, thank you guys for tuning in. Kayla, before we close out, do you want to tell them A, where they can find you on social, and B, where they can hear you if they want to check out your music on the radio?
Yeah, so my Instagram and Twitter is at Kayla Thomas 40. So my show is in a bunch of cities. So basically the link to where you are, so whatever city that you're in, you can look at that link and it will show you, okay, it's on 93.9 in Kansas. So everything's on my social media.
Yeah.
Or you can go to popcrush.com.
Or go to popcrush.com. But check out Kayla's social, Kayla Thomas 40. And thank you again, Kayla, for doing this live stream. Thank you all for tuning in. We will be back next Thursday with another our special guest. But again, Kayla, thanks for dropping gems. If you learned anything, you guys, be consistent, be authentic, figure out who you are, who your brand is. Keep putting in that work, and it's going to be valued by people, by fans, by people like Kayla who work in the industry. So keep going. We believe in you guys. And with that being said, we hope you guys have a great week, and we will see you soon.
Bye.